This video is about a mom walked into the playground and a billionaire handed her an umbrella. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The playground hummed with the laughter of children, the air filled with the scent of freshly cut grass and the faint sweetness of cotton candy from a nearby stall. Lucy Davis stood to the side, watching her 10-year-old daughter, Mia, swing higher and higher, her laughter blending with the joyous shouts of friends. Lucy had always found solace in this small sanctuary, a place where the mundane stresses of life melted away, if only for a moment. It was a Saturday, and despite the clouds threatening rain, she relished the opportunity to spend time with Mia, who had spent the week pleading for an outing. As she leaned against a sun-warmed bench, she felt the familiar pang of loneliness. Since her divorce 2 years ago, playgrounds had been a mixed blessing. Mia thrived in the company of other children, but Lucy often found herself an outsider among the other moms, their busy lives filled with partners and shared laughter that felt distant to her heart. Just then, the clouds darkened ominously, swirling overhead like a gathering storm. A few scattered droplets began to splatter against the ground, and Lucy instinctively reached for her phone, considering whether to call it a day. But Mia was lost in her own world, and at that moment, Lucy couldn't bear to disrupt her joy. Suddenly, a figure walked toward her from the other side of the playground. He was tall, impeccably dressed in a dark navy suit that looked out of place among the colorful chaos of plastic slides and swings. His dark hair was slightly tousled, and the lines of his jaw were sharp, lending an air of authority to his presence. "Excuse me," he said, his voice deep and smooth, laced with a hint of amusement as he approached. "I believe you might need this." In his hand, he held a large, pristine umbrella, its fabric a rich burgundy that stood out against the gray sky. Lucy blinked, momentarily caught off guard. I think that might be for you." She gestured toward the umbrella, her gut twisting slightly as she spoke. He had an air of confidence that set off a small alarm in her head. Too many rich men had tried to charm their way into her life before. "Nonsense," he replied with a smile that seemed to light up the stormy day. "I insist. You shouldn't get caught in the rain." She hesitated, glancing back at Mia, who was blissfully unaware of the impending weather. It felt ridiculous to take an umbrella from a stranger, especially one who looked like he had just stepped off a corporate jet. But something in his eyes of warmth, a hint of mischief, prompted her to reconsider. "Okay, fine, thank you," she said, accepting the umbrella. Their fingers brushed momentarily, and she felt a jolt of electricity course through her. It was surprising, as she immediately scolded herself for the reaction. "I am Ethan," he introduced himself, extending his hand. "Lucy," she replied, shaking his hand firmly, surprised by how confident she felt in that moment. "And this is Mia." She nodded toward her daughter, who was now engrossed in a game of chase with her friends. "Mia seems to be enjoying herself," Ethan said, his gaze drifting to the children playing. "You're really lucky to have such a spirited daughter." "Lucky or not, it's exhausting sometimes," Lucy admitted, her heart warming at the sight of Mia's giggles. "But I wouldn't trade it for anything." Ethan studied her for a moment, as she wondered what thoughts swirled behind his piercing blue eyes. "I can imagine," he said finally. "I wasn't sure what to expect when I came here today. I usually avoid places like this, but I must say, it's refreshing." "Refreshing?" Lucy raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What do you normally do?" He chuckled softly, a warm, alluring sound that made her heart race. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you. Let's just say my life revolves around boardrooms and high-stakes negotiations." "Ah, the corporate world," Lucy remarked, a hint of sarcasm slipping into her tone. "Sounds thrilling." "It has its moments," he replied, his expression shifting slightly. "But I often find myself longing for something more, something real." The conversation flowed effortlessly, a dance of words and glances that made the atmosphere thrum with unspoken tension. Ethan's presence was magnetic, pulling her in despite her reservations. "In truth, I came here to clear my head," he confessed, his gaze shifting toward the clouds. "I never expected to meet someone as intriguing as you." Lucy felt a flush of warmth creep up her neck at the compliment, a mix of surprise and delight. "Intriguing? I am just a single mom trying to survive the weekend." His eyes sparkled with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. "And that's exactly what makes you intriguing. You read juggling it all, and yet you seem grounded." Lucy opened her mouth to respond, but was interrupted by the sudden downpour. The rain poured from the heavens like a waterfall, saturating the ground in seconds. "Mia?" Lucy called, her voice tinged with panic. But Mia was already racing toward her, laughter bubbling from her lips despite the deluge. Mom, it is awesome, she squealed, shaking her hair to send droplets flying, her joy infectious. Awesome? Lucy echoed, her hands on her hips. You're going to be soaked. Ethan raised the umbrella over them, sheltering the three of them from the downpour. There's plenty of space under here, he said, his voice playful. Come on, you can't abandon the playground just because of a little rain. With a reluctant smile, Lucy joined him, allowing the umbrella to provide small haven amid the chaos of the storm. Mia jumped around them, twirling in the rain, her laughter ringing like chimes. See? Ethan said, leaning slightly closer to Lucy as they both watched Mia. She is having the time of her life. Sometimes, you just have to embrace the rain. Lucy felt the warmth of Ethan's presence beside her, the tension between them palpable as their shoulders brushed against each other. She had always been cautious, wary of men after her divorce, but there was something undeniably magnetic about Ethan. I guess you were right, she said, glancing up at him. But I am not quite sure how to embrace the rain when I've got a life to manage. He nodded, and for a moment they shared a silence that spoke volumes. She sensed a mutual understanding, a connection that transcended the chaos around them. Maybe you should take a break sometimes, Ethan suggested, his tone softer. Let someone else help carry the weight. Lucy met his gaze, feeling an unfamiliar flutter in her chest. And who would that be? I hardly know you. True, he said with a smirk. But maybe we could fix that. Before she could respond, Mia ran back to them, cheeks flushed and eyes sparkling with mischief. Can we jump in the puddles, Mom, please? Lucy chuckled, the tension easing as she looked at her daughter. All right, but just for a few minutes, then we heading home. With that, the three of them stepped into the rain, laughter echoing against the backdrop of the storm. As they splashed through puddles, Lucy couldn't shake the feeling that this unexpected encounter was more than a chance meeting. It was the beginning of something entirely new. Just as she turned to share a smile with Ethan, a splash of water hit her squarely in the face, followed by Mia's infectious giggle. For a brief moment, she forgot all her worries, allowing herself to be swept away by the joy of the moment and the mysterious man who had interrupted her day. But as the rain fell, so did the wall she had built around her heart, and for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to wonder what it might be like to embrace the unpredictable both in the weather and in life. As the rain poured down, a cacophony of laughter and splashing filled the air. Lucy felt the surge of freedom wash over her as she jumped into a puddle alongside Mia, the icy water soaking through her shoes. Mama, look at me. Mia squealed, her hair plastered to her forehead, eyes bright with delight. Lucy couldn't help but burst into laughter, her heart swelling at the sight of her daughter as pure joy. It was moments like these that made the struggles of single parenthood feel worthwhile, even if they were drenched and cold. I see you, my little mermaid, she shouted back, her voice rising above the rain. Ethan stood to the side, watching them with that same warm smile, his presence a steadying force even amid the playful chaos. You two really know how to embrace the rain, he called, tilting the umbrella slightly to shield himself from the downpour that had picked up intensity. Come join us. Mia beckoned, her voice filled with childlike enthusiasm. It is so much fun. Lucy felt a flicker of hesitation. Ethan, you don't have to. I'd be a fool to pass up a chance for fun, he interrupted, a glint of mischief in his eye. With that, he stepped into the puddle beside them, the water splashing up around his polished shoes. He didn't seem to care about the expensive suit he wore, a testament to his willingness to join in their moment of joy. See, he said, grinning widely as he splashed water back at Mia, who squealed with delight. There is no such thing as bad weather, only bad company. Lucy watched them both, a warmth enveloping her heart. She couldn't remember the last time she had enjoyed such spontaneous silliness. Well, are we going to make a splash contest out of this? She teased, gaining confidence as she wiped water droplets from her face. With a glint in his eye, Ethan responded, challenge accepted. And just like that, a playful competition ensued, the air filled with laughter and shouts as they tried to outdo one another in jumping into puddles. As they raced around the playground, Lucy caught herself stealing glances at Ethan. He was not only handsome, but also genuinely carefree, a stark contrast to the uptight world she often inhabited. There was something alluring about the way he laughed, how he embraced life with such fervor. But beneath her enjoyment lurked a small, nagging voice, reminding her of the gulf between their worlds. A billionaire and a single mom didn't those labels create insurmountable distance. She bit her lip, trying to push the thoughts away and focus on the moment instead. After a particularly triumphant splash that sent water cascading toward Ethan, he raised an eyebrow in mock indignation. All right, that is war. He narrowed his eyes playfully, his posture shifting into a conspiratorial stance. "Prepare yourself, Lucy." Lucy erupted into laughter. "Though you think you can take me down, bring it on." She took a step back, preparing to dodge whatever he was planning. "You beyond," he said, charging toward her, and she squealed, darting to the side. They danced around each other, laughter echoing in the air, the sound intertwining with the rhythm of the rain. Finally, breathless with laughter, they collapsed back onto the bench, the umbrella barely containing the rain around them. Mia, still full of energy, twirled in the rain, her joyous shouts ringing out as if declaring this moment a celebration of life itself. "I think we might have just made some enemies in the puddles," Ethan said, wiping the rain off his forehead, his voice low and teasing. "Enemies?" Lucy replied, raising an eyebrow. "You mean all the other parents who are watching us like we've lost our mind?" "More like the puddles themselves," he countered, a playful smirk on his lips. "Fair point," she admitted, her heart doing an odd little flip at his unpretentious demeanor. "But I think we will have to go back to adulting soon. We can ruin our reputations." "Reputation?" he echoed with a chuckle. "I am not convinced you ever had one. You're far too fun for that." Lucy felt the warmth creep into her cheeks. "Don't you let the other moms hear you say that. They might band together to shun me." "Shun you? They'd be jealous," he replied, his expression turning serious, the playful glint in his eye morphing into something deeper. "You're a breath of fresh air, Lucy, honestly." She met his gaze, feeling a rush of vulnerability. "I don't even know you," she murmured, her heart racing. "How can you say that?" "There is something about you," he said quietly, leaning closer. The air between them crackled with unspoken chemistry, each heartbeat echoing louder in her ears. "You're real. So many people hide behind their masks, and you?" He paused, his brow furrowing slightly. "You're not one of them. It is refreshing." Lucy swallowed, feeling her chest tighten with an emotion she hadn't expected. "Maybe I've just had to be real because I don't have a choice. Life has a way of stripping you down to what matters." "Exactly," he said softly, and for a heartbeat she felt the weight of his understanding settle between them. The air shifted, thick with uncharted emotions. "Mom, look!" Mia's voice broke the spell, her joyous shout pulling them back to reality. She stood in front of them, arms wide, droplets cascading down her face as she beamed with happiness. "I am flying." "Just don't fly too high," Lucy called back, her heart swelling with affection. Then, turning back to Ethan, she caught him watching her with a mixture of admiration and something else. "What?" she asked, unable to hold back a smile. "You're a wonderful mom," he stated, sincerity dripping from his words. "Mia is lucky to have you." "Thanks," she replied, her heart fluttering again at the compliment. "I am just trying to balance it all." Ethan nodded, his gaze intense. "I can see that. You carry a lot on your shoulders, Lucy." She shifted slightly, feeling the weight of his scrutiny. "I do, but it is okay. I love her more than anything." "Love is a powerful thing," he mused, and for a moment their eyes locked, charged with a tension that seemed to pull them closer. "Mona, let us go jump in the big puddle over there," Mia shouted, pulling Lucy from the moment, and there was a hint of disappointment buried in her chest. Okay. Lucy called back, trying to shake off the lingering emotions that danced in the space between her and Ethan. "Let us go, puddle jumper." As she stood, Ethan reached for her hand, his touch gentle yet firm. "Can I join? I promise I'll be on my best behavior," he said with a playful gleam in his eyes. Lucy chuckled softly, feeling that familiar warmth spread through her again. "I have no doubt that you'll be a delightful distraction." "Good," he replied, his eyes dancing with mischief. "I'll take that as a compliment." With Mia leading the way, they dashed toward the largest puddle, laughter erupting once more, their spirits untethered by the rain. But as Lucy splashed alongside her daughter and Ethan, a small knot of anxiety began to twist in her stomach. Could she really let herself enjoy this? Beneath all the joy, was there a reality waiting to emerge later? A voice flickered in her mind, warning her to tread carefully. But as Ethan jumped into the puddle beside them, sending a shower of water cascading into the air, she realized that sometimes to embrace the rain meant to let go of the worries that loomed overhead. In that moment, surrounded by laughter and the warmth of unexpected companionship, she decided to take a leap into the unknown. For now, the rain was not just a storm, it was a dance, an embrace of spontaneity she hadn't allowed herself for far too long. And with each splash, she felt the barriers around her heart begin to soften ever so slightly, inviting the possibility of something new. As the afternoon wore on, the rain slowed to a gentle drizzle, transforming the playground into a vibrant, glistening wonderland. Puddles dotted the ground like miniature lakes, and a rainbow began to peek through the lingering clouds. Lucy felt invigorated, though the dampness clung to her clothes in a way that was both uncomfortable and oddly freeing. Mia, still riding the high of excitement, raced toward a particularly large puddle, her laughter ringing through the air like a melody. "Look at me, Mom, I am a dolphin," she squealed, leaping into the puddle with abandon. Water splashed high, soaking the nearby grass and sending droplets flying toward Ethan, who stood nearby, still holding the umbrella. "Careful, little dolphin," Ethan called, his voice laced with amusement. "You might just make a splash that drowns the entire playground." Lucy couldn't help but laugh at his playful banter. "Just unstoppable," she replied, her heart swelling with pride. Watching Mia thrive in these moments was a reminder of how precious and fleeting childhood could be. "Unstoppable indeed," Ethan said, stepping closer, the umbrella casting a warm shadow over them. "It is infectious, I mean it." He paused, his eyes glinting as he fixed his gaze on Lucy. "You've got to have a little dolphin spirit in you too, right?" Lucy raised an eyebrow, feeling a flicker of warmth in her cheeks. "Though I am afraid my dolphin days are long behind me. I've traded them for a life of spreadsheets and laundry lists." She gestured vaguely at the chaotic mess of the playground, her heart dancing at his teasing. "Spreadsheets?" He leaned in, clearly intrigued. "What kind of a life is that? I'd much rather be splashing around in puddles." "A touch," she replied, her smile growing. "But sometimes we have responsibilities that just can't be ignored." "True," he said, suddenly serious. "But remember, responsibilities don't have to steal your joy. It is about finding that balance." Lucy felt something in his words resonate deep within her. There was a sincerity in Ethan that was hard to ignore. "You're right, I just forget sometimes," she admitted, a hint of vulnerability creeping into her tone. "Maybe it is a good time to remember," he suggested, his voice slow and earnest. "You deserve it." Before she could respond, Mia sprinted over, her cheeks flushed with excitement. "Mom, can you jump in the puddle with me this time?" Lucy looked at her daughter, at the pure joy radiating from Mia's face, and couldn't help but smile. "All right, let us show these puddles who is boss." Ethan chuckled, stepping back to give them space. "I can't wait to see you take the lead, Lucy." "Just watch and learn, Mr. Corporate," she teased, her heart racing as she dashed toward the puddle, Mia right by her side. Together, they leaped into the water, the splash echoing like a cheer as droplets flew in every direction. The thrill of the moment filled Lucy with a renewed sense of freedom. She felt alive, each splash invigorating her spirit, and for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to let go of her worries entirely. "See, you are natural," Ethan called, his tone dripping with admiration. "But only because I have a great coach," she yelled back, tossing her drenched hair over her shoulder with a flourish. As they continued their playful war against the puddles, Lucy caught glimpses of Ethan through the curtain of rain. He leaned against the bench, his eyes sparkling with a mix of mirth and something deeper. The playful banter between them had transformed into something unspoken, and an undercurrent of chemistry that lingered in the air. Suddenly, Miss splashed Ethan with a torrent of water, her laughter filling the air like music. He feigned shock, raising his hands in surrender. All right, you win this round." "See, Mom, he is a good sport," Mia exclaimed, her eyes shining with delight. Lucy nodded, her heart fluttering at the sight of the two of them. He is not so bad for a corporate guy. As the rain began to fade, Lucy and Mia found themselves huddled beneath the umbrella with Ethan, still managing to catch droplets on their heads. The world seemed to pause around them, their laughter and splashes fading into comfortable silence. "Thank you for today," Lucy finally said, breaking the stillness. "I didn't realize how much I needed this." Ethan met her gaze, and for a moment, the air thickened with a tension that was both electrifying and disconcerting. "And neither did I," he replied, his tone sincere. A small frown marred her brow as she wrestled with her thoughts. "But you have a life, a career. This is a—" Her voice trailed off, uncertainty creeping in. "A distraction?" he finished, his eyes softening. "Maybe, but isn't every moment we spend enjoying life a small rebellion against our routines?" Lucy felt a rush of warmth at his words, but a small part of her couldn't shake the doubt lingering in her mind. "I guess I am just not used to letting go." "It is okay to feel that way," he said gently. "But sometimes, stepping outside your comfort zone leads to the best memories. Or the worst mistakes," Lucy countered, a hint of trepidation creeping into her voice. The past loomed over her like a shadow, a constant reminder of what had gone wrong in her life. "Mistakes can lead to growth," he replied, his voice steady. You can predict what will happen next, but you can choose how to respond to it. Lucy felt the tension in her chest ease slightly, but a part of her remained apprehensive. Maybe we read just two different worlds colliding for a brief moment, she murmured, turning to look at Mia, who was now examining a ladybug crawling on the ground. Ethan shifted closer, his shoulder brushing against hers. Maybe, but worlds can collide beautifully. And know this, I am not just some billionaire dropping into your life for a good time. I genuinely enjoy our conversations. His words wrapped around her heart like a warm embrace, igniting a flicker of hope that she had buried deep within her. You genuinely enjoy puddle jumping with a single mom, she teased, an attempt to lighten the atmosphere. Why wouldn't he replied, his gaze unwavering. You re-inspiring, Lucy. You re-navigating life as chaos and still finding joy, that is something special. A surge of emotion welled in her chest, and she looked away, momentarily overwhelmed. You don't even know me, she whispered, her voice barely audible. I've seen enough to know that you read more than you give yourself credit for, he said softly, his sincerity disarming. Lucy felt a thrilling uncertainty dancing in her stomach. What if you find out I am just ordinary? Ordinary can be beautiful, Ethan replied, his eyes twinkling with mischief. And I am a sucker for beautiful things. Her heart raced at his words, a mix of thrill and vulnerability enveloping her. I am not sure how to navigate this, whatever this is, she admitted, her voice a whisper. Then let us navigate it together, one splash at a time, he suggested, a playful grin breaking across his face. Nia suddenly banded back to them, her energy infectious. Are we going to go home soon? She asked, her hair dripping wet and cheeks still flushed. Lucy smiled, grateful for the interruption. Yes, sweet pea, just a few more minutes. As Smith whirled away, Ethan leaned closer, his voice slow and intimate. What do you say to coffee sometime? Just you and me, no rain or puddles involved. The unexpected invitation sent a thrill coursing through her. Coffee? She repeated, her heart racing with sudden possibility. Yes, coffee, or tea, or whatever you prefer. I'd like to know more about the wonderful woman who can turn a rainy day into an adventure. Lucy felt the flutter in her stomach deepen, the tension between them crackling with potential. The doubt still lingered, fear creeping in like the clouds overhead. Ethan, I am not sure. Just think about it, he interrupted, his expression softening. If you were worried about chaos, coffee is usually pretty calm. She chuckled, though the laughter felt nervous. All right, I'll think about it. Good, he said, the corners of his mouth curling into a smile. That's all I can ask for. As they stood side by side, the rain finally relenting, Lucy allowed herself to wonder about the uncertainty of the future and the allure of something new. Maybe there was beauty in the unknown, and maybe, just maybe, she could embrace it, one splash at a time. With me pulling at her hand, they turned to leave, but not before Lucy stole one last glance at Ethan. There was something in his gaze that made her heart skip a beat, a promise of adventure lingering in the air. See you soon, Lucy, he called. Lucy Davis stood at the edge of the playground, her heart racing with the conflicting emotions swirling within her. As she watched her daughter, Mia, twirling in the rain-soaked grass, laughter spilling from her lips like a joyful melody, she felt an unfamiliar warmth wrap around her heart. It had been years since she had allowed herself to feel this way so free and uninhibited. But as the remnants of the storm cleared and the sun peeked through the clouds, uncertainty began to creep back in. The weight of her responsibilities and the memories of her past loomed like shadows, dimming her momentary joy. Mom, can we go to the cafe now? Mia's voice broke through her thoughts, pulling her back to the present. The little girl's hair glistened with droplets, her cheeks flushed from the excitement of their rain-soaked adventure. Are you ready to warm up with some hot chocolate? Lucy asked, kneeling down to meet Mia's gaze. The idea of a cozy cafe was appealing, but the thought of leaving Ethan behind made her hesitate. Yeah, and I want extra marshmallows, Mia exclaimed, her bright eyes shining with delight. Lucy chuckled, ruffling Mia's hair. All right, we'll make sure to get you the biggest mug they have. As she stood, she glanced over her shoulder at Ethan, who was leaning casually against the bench, the umbrella still in hand, watching them with an amused smile. Ethan, she called, her voice carrying a hint of nervousness. Are you coming with us? He straightened, running a hand through his damp hair. I'd love to, but I wouldn't want to intrude on your mother-daughter time, he replied, a note of hesitance in his voice. That's not an intrusion, Lucy insisted, feeling an unexpected urgency to include him. I mean, we had so much fun today, I'd hate for it to end here. A flicker of surprise crossed Ethan's face, followed by a smile that made her heart flutter. If you insist, I'll gladly join, but I can promise I won't embarrass you both with my hot chocolate preferences. Oh, this I have to hear, Lucy teased, feeling a surge of excitement at the idea of extending their time together. What kind of preferences could a billionaire have? Let us just say I like to keep my options open, he said, his eyes twinkling with mischief. Shall we? Mia bounced on her toes, ready to dash toward the calf, but Lucy felt a moment of hesitation. This was all new territory for her, and inviting Ethan into their world felt like a leap into the unknown. Okay, let us go, she finally declared, pushing aside her doubts as she led the way, Mia skipping ahead. Ethan fell into step beside her, the distance between them shrinking with each step. Is it always this chaotic? He asked, glancing down at Mia, who was singing an off-key rendition of a popular song. Pretty much, Lucy replied with a grin. She has a bundle of energy, always keeping me on my toes. I admire that, he said, his tone sincere. It takes a lot of strength to manage so much on your own. Lucy felt a blush creeping into her cheeks. It is not always easy, she admitted, pushing a strand of hair behind her ear. But I wouldn't change it for the world. Ethan studied her, his expression serious for a fleeting moment. I can see that. You have a spark, Lucy, even amidst the chaos. His words made her heart quicken, and she felt a mixture of warmth and anxiety wash over her. Thanks, she said softly, wishing she could believe it. It is just sometimes I feel like I need to carry the weight of everything alone. Is that how you feel now? He asked, a hint of concern flashing in his eyes. Lucy hesitated, searching for the right words. Sometimes, I guess, after my divorce, it was hard to lean on anyone. I learned to do everything myself. I understand, Ethan said, his voice comforting. But you don't have to be alone, Lucy. There are people who want to help. You just have to let them in. As they approached the calf, the familiar aroma of coffee and pastries enveloped them, drawing Lucy in like a warm hug. I'll try, she murmured, unsure if she could truly let anyone in again, especially someone like Ethan. Inside, the calf buzzed with chatter and the clinking of cups. Mia was already darting to the counter, her eyes wide with wonder at the array of treats displayed. Can we get cookies too, Mom? Of course, Lucy replied, smiling at her daughter's enthusiasm. What do you want, Ethan? Surprise me, he said, leaning against the counter, his gaze directed at Mia. But I must warn you, I have a penchant for chocolate. I'll make sure to get you a cookie with as much chocolate as possible, Lucy said playfully, her heart warming at the thought of sharing this moment with him. As they placed their orders, she caught glimpses of Ethan stealing glances at her, his expression thoughtful. It made her pulse race, the tension between them palpable. With steaming mugs in hand, they found a cozy table in the corner where the light spilled softly through the window. Mia settled down, excitement bubbling over as she carefully arranged her chocolate chip cookie and hot chocolate, complete with whipped cream and sprinkles. Now that's a masterpiece, Ethan said, his tone teasing as he watched Mia's careful construction. I'll bet you could win awards for that. Mia giggled, her confidence soaring. I am an artist, she declared dramatically, lifting her mug as if to toast her creation. Lucy watched the two of them together, her heart swelling with affection. There was an ease in Ethan's demeanor with Mia, a natural rapport that made her feel hopeful. So, tell me more about yourself, Ethan, Lucy prompted, eager to shift the focus. What do you do when you're not rescuing single mothers from rainstorms? He chuckled, leaning forward, his elbows resting on the table. Well, when I am not busy with board meetings or making deals, I enjoy hiking, traveling, and, believe it or not, cooking. Cooking? Lucy repeated, feigning surprise. What is your specialty? Gourmet boardroom snacks? His laughter echoed through the calf, drawing a few curious glances. Actually, I make a mean paella. You'd be surprised how much I love trying different cuisines. Impressive, Lucy replied, genuinely impressed. I can barely boil water without setting off the smoke alarm. Ethan held her gaze, his expression softening. Maybe I could give you some cooking lessons sometime if you're brave enough to try. Lucy felt a rush of warmth at the suggestion, but a nagging doubt tugged at her heart. I don't know if I can commit to that, she replied, brushing off the moment even as her mind raced with possibilities. The atmosphere shifted slightly, the playful energy dimming as she wrestled with her own insecurities. It is not that I don't want to, that it's just life can be overwhelming. Life is always overwhelming, Ethan said, his tone serious. But it doesn't mean you should shy away from new experiences. You've already embraced so much today. Lucy felt her chest tighten, the weight of his words sinking in. I appreciate what you're saying, but it is hard to shake off the past. Understandable, he replied, his gaze steady. but sometimes you have to take a leap of faith, even if it is terrifying. You'd be surprised at the things that can change your perspective. Mia suddenly interjected, her eyes wide with excitement. Can we go to the beach next weekend? Mom, Ethan can come too. The suggestion hung in the air, leaving Lucy momentarily speechless. The idea of spending a day at the beach with Ethan filled her with both exhilaration and apprehension. Ethan smiled at Mia's enthusiasm, but Lucy felt a knot tighten in her stomach. The beach sounds wonderful, honey, but I am not sure if that is practical. Why not? Mia asked, her brow furrowing. It could be fun. Fun, yes, Lucy replied, trying to deflect her daughter's enthusiasm. But I have to think about everything else I have going on. Ethan remained quiet, his expression thoughtful. You deserve to take time for yourself, Lucy. It sounds like Mia would love a day off, and so would you. Maybe, she said softly, still wrestling with her own internal battle. There was a part of her that yearned to explore this connection with Ethan, but the fear of exposing herself again was daunting. Let us make it a plan, Mom. Mia chimed in, her excitement contagious. Please? Lucy felt the warmth swell in her heart, realizing how much her daughter wanted this. I'll think about it, Mia, she promised, though the uncertainty still loomed. Ethan leaned closer, lowering his voice. Just remember, sometimes the best moments come from stepping outside your comfort zone. Lucy met